A lot of veterans have been told that they just can't use their VA benefits to build a brand new custom home, and that's just not true. I'm Paul Schumacher, and over the last 30 years, we have helped over 23,000 families build their custom homes across America, including veterans. Matt and I are here to explain how VA construction loans actually work and how veterans can build their dream home with the benefits that they've earned. So, Matt, tell me, why do so many veterans get told they can't use their VA benefits to build a brand new custom home? And kind of like, what's the real story behind this?
Yeah, the real story behind it, I think, is that most banks don't offer a true one-time close construction loan. And the reason being is because it's a pretty risky product for a lender, right? You're looking at lending out 100% loan to value. And so essentially what that means is if you have land worth $100,000 and you're building a home for $500,000, that's $600,000 worth of value. And the lender's doing a loan for $600,000. And so during that time while that home's under construction, if something were to happen, such as the customer were to default, that bank, that lender is then on the hook for that construction loan.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah. And so now they're looking at having to pay the interest themselves on it and then sell that home. A big part of that is having a reliable builder partner, right? Because if you're a lender and you're lending your money out there, how many builders are you going to trust that are actually going to come through on time and on budget? And if you don't come through on time and you don't come through on budget, you're leaving everybody out to dry.
And it just goes right back to the risk component that you said. You have the financial risk, but that financial risk is even amplified by is the builder going to get the job done on time? Because then the bank has a much bigger responsibility in this thing, and that's something they would definitely want to be avoiding.
Yeah, if you don't have a good partner, you find yourself in a position where the buyer, the veteran, is out to dry, right? Because they don't have the extra $50,000 that the builder didn't have in the budget. Right. And the lender's upside down now another $50,000 because they were in a 100% loan to value. So not having a reliable builder is a reason that so many banks and so many lenders will steer clear of this.
Well, that's really interesting because if you think about it, in order to do this, you have to be dead on with your price structure and your costs, meaning we need to know to the penny what this house is going to cost. You're not going to start a house and, oh, it's going to cost more. Gee, we didn't think of that. You need a builder who goes through everything up front. So when they give you the price, that is the price down to, every last fixture in the house, because it can't be a situation where you start building and then you have all these cost overruns. It just doesn't work in this scenario.
And that's not a common situation to have a builder who can get down to the penny or get that granular. We see, so many contracts that would come in and would have a bunch of allowances, right, that you can't account for, a bunch of variances, and the lender is just dead in the water at that point. And the veteran's in a very vulnerable situation.
Yeah, you're right. You can't. I mean, we talk about this all the time. The allowances are not friendly to their customer because they just don't know what is that allowance going to be adequate to complete their home. And if they have a kitchen allowance and then they start doing the designing process of their kitchen during construction, they realize, oh, geez, my kitchen, what I want is, another $15,000 or $20,000 or whatever it may be. That's not the time to find this out. The time is to do all the legwork up front, so you know exactly what the costs are. And then everything is a fixed cost. It's not these things going up and down. Everything's locked in tight up front. So everyone has the peace of mind.
That is a key component why the one-time close VA construction loan is not done more commonly.
Yeah, I think that's a whole aspect that people don't even think about. So there's a risk element from the lenders. I get that. But what else? What else are they shying away from? Is it a complicated product? Is there other reasons that the veterans who serve should have, be able to use their benefit to build a custom home, but it just doesn't seem it's an easy and efficient process?
Yeah. Number one's the risk, without a doubt.
Okay.
Number two, for a while the VA guidelines were pretty gray about what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. And then I think we just fell into a culture of others didn't do it, so why would I go ahead and do it too? And so that kind of mantra just prevailed until really, I mean, I can say until Schumacher Homes and Schumacher Mortgage launched this program, because I still, to this day, I'm in the industry every day. I can't name another bank who does this true one-time close construction loan. So what we're doing is really special. And then, a kudos to us is not only are we doing it for customers, but we're doing it for customers at a fantastic price, right? You'd think that the basic nature of supply and demand is, well, when something's in low supply, but high demand, you're going to jack the price up, right? And we don't do that. What's amazing with us, especially with this Loan of the Brave and with all these VA promotions that we're doing, is we're coming out at a fantastic cost for these borrowers and really doing a service to the military and those who served for us.
Well, I remember when we first came up with this program, it kind of came out from, we were talking to veterans and we'd hear about their experiences, and over, it was their bank would just say no for the reasons that you just brought up. But the other thing we saw that just had to be solved is when the banks they would say yes and they would do it, the fees associated with it were just so exorbitant. It defeated the whole benefit of being able to build through the VA. So I think the fee structure is out there that's just crazy when they do it, because there's not a comfort level. And you mentioned the risk. So I think that's one thing that this program has been so successful on. I mean, a big part of our business is lending and building for veterans. And I think this program speaks exactly to all the positive that the veterans should be getting from their benefit to achieve a custom home.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Think about it this way too. When we first rolled this program out years ago, we kind of had to stumble our way through the first couple ones, and the transactions went smooth, but we had to figure it out kind of as we went, right? I remember that conversation vividly. It was, hey, these aren't going to be perfect, but we're going to get to the finish line. And now here we are, 500 plus transactions. We're doing hundreds of these a year, right? So anybody who's looking for a VA construction loan, you're dealing with a team of experts who have closed hundreds of these.
Yeah, it's kind of like anything else. With repetition, you get really good at things. And you're right, you have to navigate all the things that were kind of uncharted water, really. But now it's like it's second nature, and it's great to be able to guide people through where you haven't navigated this, like you said, hundreds of times before. Can you just walk us through how a VA construction loan works versus if you're a veteran using your benefits just to buy an existing home? Can you tell us the differences?
Yeah. Well, here's the good news is they're not that different, right? So if you're buying just a standard home with your VA loan, you can still put zero down and you still have no mortgage insurance, right? Those are the big benefits. Well, if you're building a home, it's the same benefits. You can put zero down and there's no mortgage insurance. The difference is when you close on a home that's already built, you're moving into a home that's standing there. You get the keys, you can move right in. When you're closing on a home that's not yet built, you're closing on a piece of land and plans and specs of the home you want to build. And so what happens is you go ahead and close that loan, and then the home starts to get built, right? And so the home gets built, and the builder will ask for money, and the lender will send money when the appropriate work is done. Once the home is completed, that loan is then going to move right over into a 30-year fixed, just like the other products. So you can see there's so many similarities between them.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people don't realize, and you just brought it up, but it needs to be pointed out that you're rolling the lot cost with the build cost, and you're financing 100%, it's kind of amazing in this day and age, and that is truly a wonderful benefit of this program, that you can literally roll the entire package into one financing where you've got the home and the land all in one mortgage and one payment.
Right. And I love that you said that, because in addition to that, you can also put in things like we set up an interest reserve for the veterans, and that can be financed into the loan. And what an interest reserve is that's, whenever you have a construction loan, you're always making interest-only payments throughout the process. But what is a problem for so many people is, well, I already have my rent and I already have my mortgage. How do I make the interest-only payments on top of that? And so in addition to what you said, the land can go in the loan, the home can go in the loan, so can this interest reserve. And that's how we set them up by default, is that any interest that the veteran borrower would have to pay during construction, we add it to the loan amount so it can go there. Now, it doesn't have to go there. They don't have to go that route if they want to pay it as they go, totally fine. But they have the option to get through this entire process without any other payments than they regularly have right now.
And maybe, I think that would be helpful, is just explain how interest is paid on the construction portion of the loan as construction progresses, because I think a lot of people don't quite understand that, and it's a small amount, but again, it's one less thing that can be out of pocket if you finance it in how you're describing.
Yeah. Interest during the construction loan. So it starts out, very small, and then as the home gets built, it grows and grows and grows. So what happens is, as a home's being built, a lender will give a builder draws. And then based on how much that draw is for the work that's done, maybe it's $100,000, the borrower would pay the interest only on what's been drawn. Okay. So kind of in layman's terms, it's just like a credit card, right? If you borrow on a credit card, you have a monthly payment. Yep. It's similar to that.
Yep. Okay. That makes sense, because I think, again, when you're looking at this and you are able to finance and everything at 100% and to get, a completed product at the end, I think it's important that everyone knows the parts and pieces and how it all works together, just for a comfort level, because, it's really interesting in new home financing in general it's very much a niche product. Like if you go out and there's an existing home and you want to use your VA benefits, it's pretty straightforward. But when you're building a new home, as we've mentioned here, it's a whole different set of rules, and frankly, it's one of those things that it's a great way for a veteran to achieve, a new custom home that really a lot of people don't know that it really can be done or exists.
Without a doubt. And I don't want to steal your talking points here, but if you're looking at a veteran getting into a home at some, 4.99% or 3.9 or whatever fantastic rate they can get into a brand new home at, they're looking at then, contrasting that to buying a home that's 10, 20 years old and moving into someone's old home.
Yeah. Well, we always have this saying, it's kind of funny, but it says dream homes don't have previous owners. And you think about it, it's kind of makes you laugh a little bit. But it's kind of true, because whatever you're buying in the existing market is a compromise from what someone else, that was their dream. You have to compromise with the size of the rooms, the layout, how you live in it, the finishes and all that. And with building, there are no compromises. It's just all about you, your family, your lifestyle, your wants and needs in a brand new home.
Yeah. Think about your veterans too. So many veterans, I find don't want to move into a cookie cutter neighborhood, right? A lot of veterans like to go out and get a piece of land or pick out a piece of land, and then they want your custom home and they want to put that home on the land that they picked out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The land part is interesting, and I always say, me personally, is if you can have that nice acreage and all, you have the privacy. I mean, there's nothing like that. But again, it's whatever the customer wants. Is it the privacy? Is it the community living? Is it the lakefront living? Is it whatever, you name it? You get to basically choose where you're putting your home, just like all the finishes in your home. So it kind of blends together in all one package, just for you, whatever's most important in your location and certainly in your home design. So what are the top mistakes you see veterans make before they would even talk to a lender?
The top mistake veterans make before talking to a lender, I would say, is simply just not talking to a lender.
Yeah, that's a
right?
good point.
Yeah. I mean, you have to remember, whenever you're going into a mortgage financing opportunity, that the loan officers who are there and the company who's providing the loan all want to give you a loan, right? We're there to help. That is our goal. That's how we make money, is to get you a loan. So if you go into a mortgage application and you're hiding something, or you're shy, or again, it's a vulnerable spot to be in, right? To open up your finances and let somebody take a look at it. But that's the best way for a mortgage company to look at it and say, you know what? You're not going to qualify right now, but here's a couple things that you can do, and come back down the road and come back to us because we want to earn your business.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you guys are the experts. You see it all the time. And some people are, they get scared of or have maybe misconceptions, and it doesn't cost anything. And like you said, everyone has the same goal. They want to be able to finance and make you a loan. But I think that is the thing. There's probably that fear bubble maybe would keep some people from taking the initial step, where there really shouldn't be any, because there's really nothing to fear. It's kind of like the whole process is very educational, right? So if you talk to someone who does this every day of the week, and they've seen every scenario under the sun, and then these are all, I wouldn't say puzzles, but nothing's cookie cutter here. Like, so you have to look at everyone's individual situation, and then how do we put it all together?
And no two situations are the same.
Yeah.
Right? Life happens to everyone. Yeah. And there's something that pops up that's unique and different, and we just work through it.
Yeah. So tell us how veterans can avoid 2 mortgages while their home is being built.
Yeah. So that goes back to the interest reserve. And so what we do in a lot of VA loans is we set up what's called an interest reserve. And essentially, that is the interest that a borrower would be paying to build their home during the construction process. And so those dollars will add them to the purchase contract. And so the borrower is essentially financing that cost, right? So I don't want to, sit here and say, oh my gosh, there's no payments at all. We're essentially financing them. And again, if the borrower wants to pay those, they certainly can. By no means are they obligated to do this. But what it gives the veteran the opportunity to do is to get through this process of building a home where there's a little unknown, right? You're going to be buying furniture. Yep. You want to save money during that process. And this allows them to not have that payment during the process, and just know that it's going to get tacked on at the end of the loan.
So for someone who's served and wants to build a custom home, what is their first step?
Well, first step is if you're interested in a Schumacher home, contact Schumacher Homes. Take a look at the homes, see if they can build the home for you.
I would say whether you're a veteran or not, the first step, it's kind of like how you like to shop and learn, right? So you can go online and learn everything possible. It's very transparent, which is great. But I always say, there's nothing like coming in and seeing the product, touring it, experiencing it, see how it feels, because then you can get excited about, hey, you start thinking about, what's most important to you. And then as you go through that, you can then start thinking about budget and things like that. So I'd highly recommend that. But there's also people who, that first step, maybe they just want to talk with you and say, hey, let me talk with someone about my finances to see what I can afford. So if they want to do that, what's that path look like?
Yeah, it's as simple as, if you're not someone who wants to pick up the phone right away, you can hop online and submit an application, which comes through right away. If you want to call in or contact a loan officer, you could do that easily. We're not going to put you through 1,000 questions and pull your credit and do all that stuff if you're not ready for it. Our step in this is to guide you to a point where you're ready for all of that. Yeah. And sometimes, it's a process that goes between the two of us, right? Somebody walks into a home and they say, wow, love the product. How much can I afford?
Yeah.
Right. And so then they want to come find out how much they can afford, because there's nothing worse than designing your dream home and then getting told you can't afford it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's multiple pathways, but I think eventually you're going to have a plan and a design and a detailed price, which is your budget. And you're at some point, and it's based up on a customer, you're going to be talking about your finances and getting comfortable with all those parts and pieces. And then you bring it all together. And that's how homes are built in this country. So I hope all the veterans or anyone else listening who made it to the end found this valuable. We do have another video that you can watch that addresses all the most commonly asked financing questions when building a new home. Go check it out.